it's not a manager's job to be the smartest person in the room, to have all the answers, right? To come in and just delegate orders, right, or anything like that. It's a manager's job to make sure that their team is surpassing them. You mean like it's a manager's job to make sure they have the support and the tools to be able to grow to their best. And if they surpass you in their career and move on to bigger and better things, well, then you did a good job.
Hello and welcome to Love as a Business Strategy, a podcast that brings humanity to the workplace. We are here to talk about business, but we want to tackle topics that most business leaders shy away from. And we believe that humanity and love should be at the center of every successful business. I'm your host, as always, Jeff Ma, and I'm here to have conversations and hear stories and tales from real people about real businesses and how they operate. I am joined today by not one, but two guests, and they are Ed Cuervo and AJ Ferrer. Together, they have over 20 years of experience in producing multimedia and content for brands, startups, tech companies, and many, many others. And they're here to speak about their work at Room 3, a creative production company based in New York. They are a dedicated film and animation production company for not-for-profits and for-purpose organizations. Ed is the owner and executive producer, and AJ is the cinematographer and producer. So, gentlemen, welcome to the show. How are you?
How you doing, Jeff?
Great. Thanks for having us.
Awesome. So, I before we dive into Room 3, and we'll go one at a time. I know it's kind of weird with three of us kind of fighting over air time here. But I want to hear a little about your personal, kind of journey. Obviously, it could be a lot, but as much or as little as you're willing to share, I really want to know kind of what brought you to number one, what's your passion? And number two, what is the path that brought you there? And I'll start with you, AJ.
Sure. So my passion is helping to create good content in a number of different lights that can help have some type of impact broadly at a high level. I think it started off as, it does for so many people in this industry, just watching movies as a kid and walking around with a high handy cam and trying to see what you can do with it. It's kind of where it begins. But yeah, I mean, as I've progressed through my career, I find myself always drawn to, it's always easier and more exciting to work on content, whether it's for non-for-profits or just for a small company or on a broader sense, something that you can feel as you're producing it, that this isn't just helping someone look good. Can potentially have some type of impact and make life easier for somebody in some regard. So that's pretty high level. But I think that's where it begins. And what I'm always looking for whenever I'm taking on a project is if it has that at its core.
What's your favorite movie of all time?
Oh, come on. That's a massive question, man. I can tell you a favorite movie of the moment.
Okay, sure.
So currently it's an older one, and this is one I frequently go back to, but I got to say Top Secret with Val Kilmer. It's a great piece of slapstick humor. It's killer. It's good any time of year. So yeah, you can't go wrong.
Love it. Very nice. Ed, same first question. What is your passion and how did you get here with it?
So my passion is creating content, simply to the core. And I enjoy thoroughly interacting with clients and, partnering together to create a very impactful, memorable experience. And yeah, just like AJ said too, for me, I get a lot of satisfaction knowing that something is impactful, knowing that it actually resonates with people and it makes people happy. How I got here, it was quite the journey, between going to film school and then going to audio engineer school, for during my master's, and then coming back to video in my 30s. I think it's just been, a pretty cool experience. I've learned a lot. I've seen a lot. And yeah, that's pretty much my passion overall.
I know you are a former audio engineer and you like to record some music. What's your favorite band of all time?
Band that I've recorded or band?
No. Yeah, I mean, band that I might know.
Oh, I think honestly, when I think about music history, I think the Beatles really have shepherded in a brand new way of recording music that you could kind of see throughout the 60s. Like from when they first started to like the end, like there was a lot of technological advances and a lot of like experimentation that they did, that really just like kind of revolutionized like many genres of music.
Couldn't agree
Like for
more.
instance, Helter Skelter is, I would say, one of the first examples of heavy metal ever recorded on, you know, you know, ever, like period.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's jump into room 3. So, high level, tell me. I'll start with you, Ed. Well, tell me about room 3 and really how it came to be.
Good question. So, Room 3 originated actually before Room 3 started. AJ and I, Ike, Lalo, some of our other people that we work with, we all actually worked at a tech startup a couple years ago called Grovo, and we're all on the same team. And we had the opportunity to create thousands of explainer videos, whether through animation or through live action. Um, and so we really worked with a lot of clients. And on my end, when Grovo was acquired by Cornerstone, there was an opportunity for me to either continue or maybe explore a different path. And the path that I thought would work was, why not try to do it ourselves? Why not try to keep the connection, because that was my favorite part of the job, actually interacting with clients and having great interactions, like continue doing it on our own. And fast forward 5 years later, we started from scratch. Now we're in the city. We have an office in Midtown. We work with like over 20 clients a year, and it's just been a lot of fun.
AJ, what made you follow Ed down this potentially treacherous path to room 3?
So yeah, going off what I just said, I think we had a history of working together that has always been really positive and productive. There's a lot of respect there. I think we kind of complement each other. Our weaknesses and our strengths kind of complement each other in a good way, I think. And so really it was kind of a no-brainer. It's throughout my career, I've worked for several different companies, full-time, freelance, in a number of different capacities. But I think with Room 3, it's just been a solid. It just keeps working, and we continue to move on to bigger and better things, and there's no reason to keep, there's no reason to stop. So let's keep moving, and I think it's a very complimentary relationship, is what I'd say. Yeah.
What do you think, for either of you, what do you think is the reason for, what do you attribute your success to with room 3?
I think it's communication. I think it's trust. I think after working with each other in a different setting, a lot of the pressures of a startup tech, company environment were eliminated, and we were able to actually just be a little bit more like straightforward with each other without any of the pressures from like, exterior people, because that sometimes, runs rampant in these like more, I want to say hostile, but more like treacherous, environments in tech companies. And there was a big up and down with Grovo, and I think just being able to weather it. I think really when it comes down to what we do now, yeah, we have a great level of communication. We're straightforward. We don't hold back. I would say maybe it's called fearless feedback. It's like we really, don't sugarcoat things. And I think in that sense, we do the same with our clients too. We're not like overinflating ourselves or vice versa. It's like, we like to be straightforward with people.
What is, I guess, room 3's at a high level mission or vision, and its purpose?
I think what we like to do is craft great stories and bring them to life through memorable video. I think that's what I would say.
And I know that a lot of the work, a good portion of the work, is often with nonprofit or for a larger purpose. Is that something you all intentionally set out to do at the onset, or how did you stumble across that?
I think it goes back to what AJ said too. Being able to, create video that has impact, right? I think it's we're in New York City, so that's part of our ambition and aspirations to partner with big entities or nonprofits that are doing good things, and really just help amplify the message, help create an experience that can touch and connect with others.
Yeah, I think when we're evaluating a project, that's something that we're just kind of naturally drawn to, right? It's kind of like when we were at Grovo, like like Ed was saying, we produced all different types of videos, thousands of videos. Some of them were, you know, could merely be how to better use the Google suite, right? Or something as simple as that, which wasn't, or something along the lines of how to give like a better presentation. But the content that was always the most exciting to work on was how do you be a better manager? How do you have a better culture? How do you have, things that like, as you're making it, first of all, you kind of learn yourself as right? We were learning at the same time as we're developing this content. At the same time, it's you kind of know like, oh, like this could genuinely help someone, and it's a lot easier to get excited about that type of content. So I think even now, as we're evaluating projects to work on, like, not everything's like that, but when we see that at the core of something, whether especially it's common for nonprofits, it's great, it's exciting, and it's easier to be like, yeah, this is something that we definitely want to look further into, like which is really nice. It drives the personal interest.
Yeah, absolutely. That hits home quite a bit for me, because in the line of work that I'm in, and that we're constantly wrestling with, it is about, at the end of the day, reaching the hearts and minds of people to make a real impact, a real difference, no matter what it is, right? Whether you're talking about love as a business strategy, or you're talking about just how to be safe at work or something like that. These are all things that, we're they're sourced in a place of really wanting people to not just hear but listen, right? And it's such a crazy world we live in, where this medium has become kind of the most important mouthpiece for that transfer of knowledge. People don't read anymore. People don't really have longer than a few minutes of attention span, and it's so important for it to be captivating and engaging and interesting, while still having that purpose. And that's something that connected me to this message, because we need more of people who, with these talents and skills, spreading messages in these ways, so that people can will actually listen. Especially trying to explain love as a business strategy through this podcast is an example of just like, it's just a podcast. It only reaches so many people, but there's so many more messages to get out there. And it's kind of like, it's up to you guys. And it's really great that you put so much of your heart and passion into that, because it always shows through. It always comes through in the final product.
Totally. I would add one thing to what you just said. One thing that we learned while working at Grovo was the art of creating really short videos. And I think when you're talking about like the attention span, one thing that we coined we called it micro learning. But in many ways today, you can't, in order to effectively communicate to people, you have to be able to deliver really short, bite-sized pieces of content that really just capture attention, maybe focuses on one emotional like hook and like one like learning point, and like that's your piece of information that you need to transfer over to like the viewer. And I think just creating a lot of that kind of video content, really, and seeing it work across a lot of organizations that we used to work with. Yeah, I mean, like it definitely was something that we really fell in love with and continue to do.
You know, we obviously the show is called Love is a Business Strategy. And so we talk about love quite a bit, but there's so many different forms of love and what we talk about. And there's the love for what we do, there's a love for the work, there's love for the clients, and then particularly most often I'm interested in the love for one another, if you will. And so um, you know, you talked about this team that worked together. Does the word love mean anything when you think of your group of folks? And AJ, I'll start with you on what does love mean in that team's context?
Sure. I mean, definitely. Yeah. I think it's, you know, like I said, a lot of us, this team, several of us have been working together for quite a while, right? And, you know, as Ed was saying earlier, like we're very clear and direct with each other, right? And that is born out of love, really. You know what I mean? It's like, 'cause it's, I think it's like, we're not going to waste, you know, it's not about being, you know, harsh or anything like that. It's just about like, let's respect each other's time. We're focused on the same thing, you know, like, and let's, you know, we feel comfortable. There's enough respect in the room between everybody that we feel comfortable saying what needs to be said, right? And you know, and it's always in a respectful way. We're not like rude or anything like that. This isn't like a, you know, like a, it's not like a tense work environment, even when things might get a little, you know, tense occasionally. Um, but I think, yeah, love is, it has to be at the core of it. It's a love for work, and it's a love for the people that you work with. And I think that's, I mean, there's really no other way to operate. You can't have a good working environment. People aren't going to be comfortable to bring their best and show their best, even if they might be wrong, if they don't feel that there is some form of love, you know, in the room. Other people might call the love just respect or whatever it is. I personally I like calling it love. I think it's a good move. Yeah, it's good. But yeah, that's kind of how I see it.
Ed, when it comes to this team, you know, it's got a tight knit kind of, you know, startup entrepreneurial spirit behind it, and you know, very often that um, I've seen at least it be much easier to naturally have that love, which includes trust and empowering each other and really lifting each other up, being vulnerable with each other. Um, you know, from what AJ says, I feel like you have those things in your team. The question is, as you grow or as you kind of see success, and not you, but the pattern is that those types of things get harder and harder. You can't, you know, not everyone you add to the team will have worked at your previous company together, nor will they all be, you know, something you're used to, or someone new personalities, new all these things. And then of course, you know, size or number of people can change just how much interactions there are, and silos and things like that. Is that something you think about as an owner, and are you, how intentional are you, I guess, about culture with Room 3?
That's a good question. I think before Room 3, I did have the opportunity to be a manager and, you know, effectively manage a team of 10 people. And I learned so much from that experience, you know, really just learning how to communicate with different people, leading through empathy, like really like, you know, I would do one-on-ones every, you know, week with every single person on my team, maybe grab a coffee, just like connect with them. And I think that taught me a lot about like the importance of using, as we call it here, love, or like anything similar, something similar like that in the work environment. Right now, like, you know, our team's small, but we're, you know, kind of composed like the Avengers. Like, you know, we all have a specialty. We're all really, really, really strong. Like, and so there's no egos in that way, because we're all like in many ways superheroes in our own, like, you know, craft that we work on. And but that being said, I always try my best to check in with every person, you know, systematically, whether it's just like after work hang out, or like, you know, in the middle of a shoot, or we take a break, we talk, or could just be like, you know, getting a cup of coffee. Um, you know, I do care very much about the well-being of my team, almost to the point where I would almost put them first, you know, before me. So that that really is my MO behind, being, I guess, a leader or whatever.
That's well said. And I want to kind of leverage that into the question of, when with all this effort and intentionality around the relationships in this team, how do you tangibly see that impacting the outcomes? So on the other side, what you produce and your clients and your revenues and things like that, where do you see it? Can you give an example of the correlation, or if there is one?
Honestly, it's no different than seeing an underdog, win a big game, any sport. It's like, you don't have to have the most talent, but if everyone's synced in and everyone believes in the work they're doing, and everyone's like really, really, really like, motivated, and there's like this level of trust, communication, empathy, all that. I think people have the capability of like going above and beyond, what they're expected, and, delivering outstanding results. And then I think it's tangible too, when you're with the client and they see that you're having a great time and everyone's also having a great time, then, the positivity radiates and it becomes a much better environment across, both client and, us. It's just like a better experience.
Yeah, and I would say the same culture extends to, not just the core team. And like Ed was saying, yeah, it's definitely visible. Um, when we're on set, when we're with a client, you can see, how this cultural love exists within our team, and the impact that it has, just how when we problem solve whatever might be coming up. Yeah, and clients respond well to it, and the team members respond well to it. But that culture also extends to people we bring on. If we have, if we're bringing on, if it's a bigger shoot, we need to bring on a bunch of freelancers, or bring in actors for a day or whatever it is. Um, I mean, the same respect and open environment extends to them. And I mean, as far as I know, everyone we've ever brought on a project has always been excited to work with us again, which is great. And that's always a really nice feeling to have.
Absolutely. AJ, I'll point this at you first, at least. You both mentioned, I guess, kind of the journey of Room 3. I think there's an allusion to kind of ups and downs, and things. I want to talk a little bit about the hard times. Can you I guess, share maybe your lowest point, I guess, from your perspective, for running this business and trying to get it going?
That's tough. Lowest point, hard times. I mean, the best projects that I've ever worked on anywhere are the most rewarding projects that I've ever worked on anywhere, including Room 3 or wherever, have always been the ones that make me lose sleep at night. The ones where, I'm pulling my hair out, where it's like, it's a big challenge coming up and I don't know what's going on, it's like, whatever it is. And it always sorts it out, but there's always a lot of sweat that comes before that. Right. But, yeah, I mean, I can't really call that a low point though, right? Like, we've definitely had some projects come up at times that we're all super excited about, but then it's also like, wait, this is kind of like, this is new, in some ways. It's like we're gonna have to like really, get down and dirty with this and figure out what's going on. So like, I think personally sometimes I can like way overthink things, and so like my mind just starts running, it's like whatnot, and so it's good to have a team of people around who can kind of help, calm that down a little bit. But again, I can't really call this a low moment, you know what I mean? Because at the end of the day, it becomes it's a great moment, it's a moment of growth. Yeah, that's really a tough one. I mean, yeah, I'm a pretty optimistic person. I try not to look back, and unless something was truly horrible, but knock on wood, so far we've been like trucking along. It's like, but there's definitely ebbs and flows. Don't get me wrong. But yeah, I try to. That's tough to answer that question. It really is. Yeah.
I have an example that resonates with me, Jeff,
Okay.
if that's okay with you.
Please.
I would say when COVID first began was a period of ambiguity, and like, it was a very scary time. A couple of our shoots that we had anticipated, a couple of big ones actually, were canceled because, everything was locked down. And, you know, AJ is definitely always an optimist, which is great. You know, that's why, you know, I love partnering with AJ. But at a certain point, we had to pivot, you know, and it became more of the Zoom video. You know, there was a lot of Zoom video content that we had to create. And there was a tremendous need for that. It wasn't the most exciting kind of content to create, but we had to create it, right? And we had to pivot, and there was such a need for it. So, I mean, you know, so in some ways it was low because we all kind of turned into cavemen. You know, AJ grew out a huge beard and a huge amount of hair, and like, you know, save here. You know, basically just like, yeah, it was just like a weird time, but we still, you know, pushed forward. We pivoted. You know, connected with, same clients, found new and inventive ways to really usher in this remote world of, you know, style of content. And I think what started off as scary ended up being an opportunity to grow, opportunity to change, opportunity to kind of, you know, think outside the box and pivot. And I thought after that was a really cool experience that we all kind of went through, because we're all at home too. Like, we were all like together at some point, and then all of a sudden, boom, you know, it's like, but now I'm knock on wood, happy those days are hopefully behind us, you know.
Everyone just knocking on wood out here. Okay. Well, I want to just follow up either of you on that one, I guess, is like, I want to know about resilience. I feel like small teams are often mighty because we have these closer relationships, and you can leverage that very easily. But, you know, with small teams also, there's those ebbs and flows can hit harder. You have less kind of coverage for unexpected turns, and problems are harder to solve with less people and things like that. I'm curious what, going back to kind of the relationships and the love that might be in how you all work, can you think of, I guess, you know, kind of examples or just kind of anecdotally how that created any resilience, or how that relationship kind of benefited when those down times or those harder times hit?
Yeah, I think you know, it's a mixture of the continued, you know, respect on the team. It's a mixture of everyone kind of being like-minded, right? But also, like, yeah, continued respect on the team within each other. I think when hard times hit, like, everyone naturally kind of leans in. So yeah, going back to Ed's example of COVID, which is a great example, like, the team had to pivot a lot, you know, mostly to doing Zoom videos and whatnot. And I like ended up building a studio in my apartment because everything else was locked down, you know what I mean? And started doing a lot of like product content, you know, and product videos and whatnot. Right. And so we all kind of like, no one, and, you know, our animators got creative, you know, on how to be efficient, you know, like, you know, and how can we, you know, really help pump up these Zoom content, you know, like, everyone felt encouraged enough, and that everyone felt free enough to be able to say, you know, no one sat back and said, oh, well, this is it. You know what I mean? It's like, or whatever it is. Everyone said, oh, you know what? Like, let me take this time, lean in, cook something up, you know what I mean? Whatever it is, and let's just match this all together. Right. And everyone felt, even if they were unsure of it at first, saying, hey, like, you know, I got this thing, whatever it is, like, we're all able to feel comfortable enough to present new ideas. And even if they weren't fully fleshed at a certain time, you know, and we felt open to criticize each other if needed be. It's like, and I think just having, again, goes back to what we were saying, but having that core and the respect of the core is key, because that's the only way you're going to get through hard times, is if people feel comfortable enough to say something that might be out of the box, and, you know, but know that even if they're criticized, it's you know, there's no negativity behind that. You know what I mean? We're all trying to hit the same goal.
Yeah, absolutely. Last question will be for you, Ed. Let's say you fast forward, we can arbitrarily say 5 years or however many. And room 3 is like, you know, room 300, you know, like I'm talking about, it's just, you're blown up, you got offices, or, you know, you got people all over the world doing this with you, and you're big. And what is something when you picture that? And again, that might not be your vision right now, but let's just, for this exercise, let's just say that's where you're at. What are you hoping that looks like from as like an owner, like as someone who appreciates what you have now, this closeness, this realness, this relationship driven team? How do you hope that looks when expanded, and how would you kind of focus to make sure that happens?
Yeah, absolutely. I would hope that everyone, no matter what the position they're in, treats each other with respect, are able to be equally as motivated in the line of work that we do. Um, I would always want and expect people to, give it their all, but at the same time, always know that, I'm here, or, the other teammates are there if they need help, they need someone to reach out for advice, mentorship, anything like that. I hope, we get to a point where we can work hard, but also, celebrate our successes together, in a great and healthy way. Um, and really just like, yeah, I mean, instead of having, I don't know if I want to have 300 people, but, I think 30 would be cool, and I think creating, you know, quality content across the board would be amazing. It would be so cool to have a team that can create, I don't know, like Netflix series, or I don't know, something that would be really, really, really awesome. And, really have that close knit group that like really appreciates the process, really appreciates the outcomes, and are willing to take the hits and keep moving forward, despite good or bad. I think that's my hope.
Yeah, I
Awesome.
think just to add one thing, I think that the a core piece of that in any organization, I'd say is really, I mean, it has to be continued culture of lifting each other up, right? Just like through the good and the bad. One of my favorite pieces of content that we produced years ago was a piece of management content, and management training, and it talked about how it's not a manager's job to be the smartest person in the room, to have all the answers, right? To come in and just delegate orders, right? Or anything like that. It's a manager's job to make sure that their team is surpassing them. You mean like, it's a manager's job to make sure they have the support and the tools to be able to grow to their best. And if they surpass you in their career and move on to bigger and better things, well, then you did a good job. You know what I mean? It's like that's what a manager's job should be. And I think in so many places, it's that exact thing isn't talked about enough. A lot of times to get people get into a management position and think it's like their job just to come in and bark orders and be on top of everything. And it's yeah, you have to keep things organized, but the measure of success should be where are your team members when you got them, and where are they a year from then, and hopefully they're off your team because they went on to better things. It's like if you're doing that, it's like then it's you're doing it right. So as long as we can maintain that, I mean, anything's possible.
Well said. And I really want to appreciate you both for coming and sharing about yourselves and your stories. I think this is a really important conversation. And one of the reasons I really wanted to have you on is because a lot of times when people talk about when I'm coaching people or I'm talking to people, they're really struggle to grasp what things should look like, I guess, or could look like, especially in larger kind of ingrained corporations and corporate environments. And the analogy I always kind of bring it back to is, like examples like Room 3. Like I think that while I go out and specifically teach, trust and forgiveness and things in like specific topics, a lot of these things are just naturally ingrained in how we work when we come with the right mindsets and we have the relationships, and when we come in for the right reasons, all the things that built Room 3 from the ground up. And you all do it relatively effortless, as is evident from just the conversation today, right? And so I think it's just so important for people to recognize that it is possible, and we've seen it be able to be expanded if you have a focus on it. Like the more people can join in this type of environment, and you guys are setting a great example for how it's done at this scale. And it looks like you have the right mindset to bring it into the next level. And, you know, I'm rooting for you, and I love the work you're doing. If anyone listening wants to check it out, go check it out. I've seen some of the stuff. It's pretty incredible. You should check it out. So yeah, that's Room 3. It's, do you guys want to leave a plug or something? Like, what's the best way everybody can find your work or reach out to you?
Yeah, you can find us at www.room3nyc.com and or follow us on Instagram, room3nyc.
Awesome. So with that, I really appreciate Ed, AJ, both of you for being on the show, and to my audience, appreciate you as well for always sticking with us. That's same time every week. We'll be here, and if you haven't already, please continue to check out the book and Love as a Business Strategy. It's on. I get so tired of pitching this every week, but hey, I want people to read this book, man. Love as a Business Strategy, available at all those retailers. So with that, great conversation and a great time. Have a great week, everybody. We'll see you next week.